It may seem a bit early, but it's time to start making a plan for your fall food plots. We all want those really good looking plots and a bunch of deer coming to them daily. I want to share some tips how you can set up a plan to have good plots and great hunts. Step number one is to evaluate the current status of your plots. Did you plant a summer crop? How's it doing? Is it weedy? A lot of places in the whitetails range have had a lot of rain this year, and that excess rain combined with some browse pressure can allow some weeds to pop up. Maybe you're in one of those few areas that have experienced a drought this year and the deer really hammered your food plot crop and you've got weeds. Either way, weed control may be something you consider going into the fall crop. Maybe your plots look great. Maybe there's not that many deer where you're hunting, and if the plots are too thick, you want to make sure there's a way for that sun to get down to those new seedlings when you plant and the seeds germinate. They got sunshine to grow. I just had an email earlier today from a client that had some soybeans this summer. His plots look pretty good. He's pretty far north up in Minnesota. It's going to be time to plant soon, early August, and I'm worried about those new seedlings getting enough sun to really photosynthesize and grow and compete with the standing beans. Now in his case, that's probably not an issue because you're planting with a no-till drill, and that drill will do just enough damage to the standing beans, especially right in those rows where he's planting, to allow the sun down. But if you're broadcasting, making sure the sun's getting those seedlings is a big priority. Maybe you're on the opposite side of the coin and you've got a lot of weeds in those plots. We get a lot of questions about using a crimper to terminate weeds. And remember, crimpers are specifically designed to terminate crops that are making seed in the dough stage. Those seeds are fully formed, full of moisture, they're not hard and viable yet. It's doubtful that a bunch of weeds are all forming seed heads at the same time. Crimping's not designed to kill that any more than driving through your yard with tire tracks will kill the grass out there. You're gonna have to likely consider a herbicide. And I know, I don't like using herbicide any more than anywhere else, but sometimes they're just a necessary tool, almost like getting a root canal. I don't wanna have a root canal, but if the dentist says, well, if you don't take care of that, it's gonna cause you to lose some more teeth, then I'll have a root canal. If you've got a bad weed issue, don't just hope and throw out seed thinking they're gonna outcompete the weeds. It's really difficult for any new crop to outcompete plants that are larger and have an established root system. You're gonna have to terminate those weeds, and the most common way, people use Roundup or glyphosate to do that. Mowing probably won't work. Just like mowing yards across America doesn't keep weeds out of them, mowing a food plot's not going to terminate a lot of weeds, especially grass type weeds. That grass is just going to start growing again. I'm not a big fan of mowing plots anytime. Mowers, especially if you've waited too late, maybe you're getting ready to plant and that summer weeds, you didn't have a summer food plot and they've made seeds, they're already ripe. You notice all that duff falls on top of your mower, then you pull into the next field and it's vibrating off. That mower just becomes a slow broadcaster around the field, planting more weeds. If you're using a mower, here's a big tip. Take a broom with you on the tractor. When you finish one field, go to the very edge or somewhere like that in the road, sweep that baby off so it doesn't become a planter for the next field. One option we've used from time to time is burning the duff off. Now, if it's really dry, you can make a fire break around the food plot. You gotta have a good fire break. Then you can burn off that duff. I only like burning if I know a rain's coming. If you turn that ground black, you burn the duff off and it doesn't rain for 2 weeks, that hot sun's just beating down on that blackened area and that can kill all the beneficial microbes and soil organisms. Burning, if you've had a bunch of weed seeds dropping, it's just making a great seed bed for those weeds to germinate. So burning's a tool to consider, but it's only used in very specific situations. Disking, that's not even an option in my book. Recent research has just come out that disking once, just 2 inches deep. Everyone says, well, I'm just gonna barely disc. If you disc 2 inches deep, it's shown that you kill 90% of the beneficial soil organisms. A great scientist in Australia did some work where they had a great field. The guy had been treating it right forever, and she'd measured the soil life per unit area in there. With permission, disc one strip, just one pass, right through the middle, one pass, and then measured the soil life there versus a couple feet away where she didn't disc, and the beneficial soil life declined 90%. I want to remind everyone that nutrients were never built, God's plan was never for nutrients to go right into the plant. They go into a microbe, converts it to exactly what the plant needs, and trades it to the plant for carbon. It's one big reason plants photosynthesize. Remember, a big part of photosynthesis, a byproduct, is carbon. So we never disc, we never recommending disking. The only soil disturbance we're gonna have is when we create a new food plot and pull out stumps at some level. We're gonna have to straighten that out. That's the last time the soil in that plot is going to be disturbed. I want to take a moment and define the difference between the term dirt and soil. Dirt is that, red, crusty, whatever, yellow, crusty stuff that's just dead as a rock, and there's no organisms in there. You don't find any earthworm holes, you dig in it, you don't see any sign of life. That's dirt, and it's not very productive. Soil is full of organic life, and that organic life is what makes plants grow better. And it's a relationship. The plants feed that life carbon, the organisms need carbon, and they bring nutrients to the plants. Tip number 3, since we're talking about plants, is make sure you plant a blend. Blends are always better than a single species. No single species is going to be good early, mid, and late season. That's a big dropping of clover, right? Clover can start off great, might hold on great to the mid-season in some areas, but late season it's going to be dormant. We always recommend blends, and we want to order our seed early, and I'm always ordering extra, at least 10% extra. If I'm planting X pounds per acre, for easy math, 100 pounds per acre, and I'm planting 10 acres, that's 1,000 pounds, I'm going to get 1,100 pounds. Due to spillage or overlapping when I'm planting, always have extra seed. If you've got a lot of deer in your area, and whatever seed you're buying, we get all ours from Green Cover, Colton at Green Cover. We work with Colton, we'll put our number up there. You want to plant 10 to 20% more than they recommend. Ag guys don't understand that that big field is growing without deer pressure. You want a lot of plants coming up to compensate for those ones that deer bite off early and never get a chance to mature.
Growing Deer is brought to you by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Also by Green Cover Food Plots, Winchester, PH Outdoors, Black Widow Bows, Moultrie Mobile, Steel, Fleet Outdoor Apparel, Morel Targets, Fourth Arrow, Soil Pro Outdoors, Scorpion Venom Archery, Case IH Tractors, Burris Optics, and Redneck Hunting Blinds.
The best way to ensure you're going to get a good stand is have proper seed to soil placement. And that means a no-till drill. Broadcasting, dragging, discing, you've noticed when you drag, you push a bunch of seed up in a pile, then you hit a low spot, and it drops down. You've all seen those clumps. Nothing beats a no-till drill. We've been drilling for years, and that's one of the secrets to the good plots we produce. But you don't want just any drill. You want a drill that's heavy enough to go through whatever soil conditions you have. Maybe there's a lot of thatch on the ground, or it's been dry and you're in a clay area and that stuff has got brick hard out there. That's one reason I've been using a pH drill for years. You can add weights to the front. You can do the adjustments on the back and all that, but if it's just hard as rock, but a rain's coming, you want to get that seed in the ground, we just get the weights, they're called suitcase packs, put them on the front. That drill's built for it. It's the only drill I know built like that in the food plot market. And we can increase that to whatever weight we want and ensure we're getting good seed to soil contact at exactly the right depth. We've got some high-yield food plots here at the Proving Grounds, back through the hills and hollers. We can't get a drill to unless we're dropping it in by a drone. So we broadcast, nothing wrong with that. When you're broadcasting, it's real important to get seed to soil contact, and that means either that previous crop has matured and there's not many weeds growing, or you've used a herbicide, or like we talked earlier, in some situations, use prescribed fire to give you a good seed bed. When we're broadcasting, we always put at least 25% more seed out than when we're drilling, because not all seed is going to land in a good place. It may land on a rock or some decaying vegetation where the root can't get to the soil. And the magic to getting a good crop when you're broadcasting is you want to spread it no more than a day or two before a ½ inch of rain. That's really difficult. You may have a lease and you live a ways away, but you broadcast it out there a week before it rains, you're gonna have some Boone and Crockett, crows, cardinals, squirrels, turkeys in that area. I don't know how they find the seed, but they can remove a huge amount quickly. Broadcasting right before rain, at least a ½ inch, not a sprinkle, is a great way to ensure that seed germinates rapidly. It's not palatable once it germinates, and gets seed to soil contact. This is especially true if you're broadcasting on an area you just burned and that ground is black. If you spread seed on black ground and it doesn't rain for a week, that black ground can get 150 degrees and it can literally kill the germination in the seeds. I've used a lot of broadcasters. The best I found is the newer Hui Man. Those bags rip, they turn over, we're trying to fill them. The Hui Man has worked perfect and much easier for me to use. So one of the most important tips is making sure you put a utilization cage in your plot. Sometimes plots fail. Maybe you broadcast and the critters ate 80% of the seed up before it rained. Maybe it's just been dry. The weatherman called for rain, it didn't rain. Or maybe you planted everything and people don't realize that when that first plot comes up, maybe you got an acre and it's that tall, there's not many pounds out there. 5 or 6 old nanny does get out there and just hammer that because they're hungry. Well, they can destroy that plot before it ever has a chance to get much tonnage. The only way to really know what's going on is have a good utilization cage in your plot. And we have a utilization cage in every plot here at the Proving Grounds. Hidey-hos, big plots, whatever it is. That is a very inexpensive and accurate way to monitor browse pressure if the crop even germinated. If you live off somewhere, we get this call a lot, and you come back 3 weeks later, hey, I don't know what happened, man, nothing's going in my plot. They did not have a utilization cage up. They don't know if it come up and deer wiped it out or it never grew. Save yourself a lot of wondering and help tune your techniques where you are by using a utilization cage. Utilization cages are not just for diagnosing whether you had good germination, but throughout the season, the browse pressure. And that can be really helpful for letting you know, man, we need to take some more does, or we could back off our doe harvest. There's not much difference between outside the cage and inside the cage. I don't know of a more accurate way to monitor browse pressure on food plots, short of a huge amount of science, than utilization cages. And I believe every food plot and every food plot farmer should utilize utilization cages to be better managers of their plots. I really enjoy the process of identifying where to put a food plot and establishing, maintaining the food plot, and especially hunting over the plot. Hidey-ho food plots are huge tools for us here at the Proving Grounds. But whatever you're doing, I think it's a great time to reflect and remember that that seed, which comes from a plant which was living and thriving, matures and dies, doesn't do anything until it's buried or broadcast and rises to a plant again. As a perfect illustration of God's gift to mankind, His Son Jesus, which lived a perfect life here on earth and taught us about God and our role with God, our relationship with God, died and rose again. And that resurrection, that's the whole difference in the world. It's all about the resurrection. And seeds are perfect illustrators of that life, death, and resurrection of Christ. I hope you have a personal relationship with Christ. If you don't, always feel free to reach out with Daniel and I. We're happy to talk to you about that. Hope you enjoy creation and have a great season this fall.